basically a heel to toe ratio. So the foot on the side of the trig needs to be about where the inside of your heel is on this foot, and you want to be on the balls of your feet, right? And then as we move up, your hips are going to be the first thing to be activated when you wrap. So your hips need to come hit first, then the rest of you follows through. Second, we'll move a little bit higher into the blocking arm. It needs to wrap as far back as you can, like there's someone holding you here, and wait for your hips to come around to hit that block. Okay, and then the stone arm, you're gonna hold the stone like you've been taught, with the stone in your finger pads, and with your elbow up, tucked into the side of your face. So you're gonna wrap as far back as you can, load up your legs, bring the hips through, blocking arm, punch. And always hit a sideways high five. Keep that elbow up so it's like a press and not like LeBron James or baseball throwing it. The biggest thing is getting your legs into it, your hips and legs. A lot of people are very upper body throwers. They just shoulder press it. And you can only get so far doing that. You can be as strong as an ox. Have people that can get their legs into it, they're gonna outthrow you all day long. So make sure you're loading your legs and getting your hip through. That's another thing. People, one of the biggest problems I see is this foot doesn't turn. They hit it from that position and that foot doesn't turn at all. They'll turn, which is great, but their hip's not coming through at all. If they would turn the foot, hit their hip through, they would get just so much more out of the throw. So that's the biggest thing I think, is turning that foot, feeling your hip come through in front of your shoulders. As soon as your hips are through, your knees are pointing that way, hit your block as hard as you can. That's another thing. I think people think too much about the press and not enough about the block. If you can hit a big block, the press will feel like the stone wasn't even there. So hit your hips through, big block, or big press, or transfer step. A lot of people have a couple different styles. I do a real rotation oriented style, so my feet aren't too far apart. I really wrap myself back like I'm in the middle of my open stone, and I load myself down into the throw. I don't start down like a lot of people do. I'll come back high, load myself, and from there come through. A lot of people take a really long, wide stance. They'll just drop down into it, sit here like a glider, come through. It's really just up to personal preference. Whatever you do though, biggest points are turning those hips through, hitting a big block. If you can do that, really any position you start from will be appropriate for the brain perspective. So, I'll just give you a couple of examples. Load the stone up, elbow up, hand sideways for the sideways high five. High, bring back, load, come through. I'm going to talk a little bit about the glide now. I don't glide myself very often unless the conditions are not right at all for spinning, so can't expect tons from me from the glide. But basically, you're going to start with the stone loaded generally a little bit lower than you would as a spinner. A lot of gliders like to tuck it under their chin rather than on the side, so you see them tucking it clear down here. But however you feel comfortable is really the main thing. Just load it and keep that elbow up. If you drop it, you're not going to get the press that you need. So just keep your elbow up, always get a sideways high five. You can start in the back, load your legs up, hips down, be really relaxed. You don't need to be super tense in the back. And just stay relaxed, so when you hit your stand from the glide, you can hit your hips through. If you're too tense, your hips won't want to move. So I like to be really relaxed in the back, just kind of bobbing about. Your hips need to stay low. The big problem I see with fighters, the first thing they do is jump straight up. And they stand, and then they're here. And it's just like in Bramer. If you're thrown here, tall upper body, people that can get their legs into it are going to beat you all day long. You're starting, kick to the middle, your hips need to stay down, and your shoulders need to be staying back, staying wrapped, just like in the spin. You want this arm to be pulled as far this way as you can, so you can hit a big block. So you start in the back, kicking through, staying wrapped, and then I'll give you an example.
My son just turned 9. Well, you know, I figured
The half spin. This is gonna be probably the hardest part to figure out for most people. It's definitely the hardest for me. Start with your right foot in. You're facing the sector. You load up with the stone in your arms. Wrap yourself, kick this foot through, and then you're in Bramer stone position. And you do the exact same thing you do with the Bramer stone. So, bring your foot there. The idea is to get your hips turned around as fast as you can before your shoulders come around. So you're loaded up, wrapped, kicking through to your Bramer position. Hard to be slow. Kicking through there and punching through like your Bramer. Next thing we'll move into is the South African. In track and field they use it as just a warm-up, but where we're in a trig instead of a ring, you can actually use this as your throw. A lot of people do that, just it's a little easier to figure out. So what I like to do, I give myself a little bit of room. Some people really cinch themselves up in the back. I give myself room. I like to be comfortable. So I'll load up my legs in the back, get a big chest, puffed up as big as I can, and really wrap in the back. And feel your weight shift onto this back leg. Kick to your half turn, and then you're in your Bramer. So, starting in the back, loading up, kicking, and then you're there. Biggest thing is staying wrapped. Staying with the shoulders as separated from the hips as you can. Because the minute your shoulders catch up to the hips, you're going to lose the throw. You don't have that stretch reflex that you would have, or the hip activation that you're going to get from that. This last part is the full spin. You're going to start with your back to the sector, And you're gonna load the stone like you would. Load up your legs. Your hips set back just a little bit. Wrap yourself open with the knee. This knee needs to open before your arms do, because that presets your hips to be in front of your shoulders, and it makes you stay wrapped like you want to be. So always open with that knee. Get as big of a leg sweep, big and powerful as you can. You want to think of it like you do hammers. Long and smooth, not tight and fast. So get it out there as wide and as powerful as you can. Hit your center. And from your center, you're just into your half turn. So it's not going to look exactly like that full speed, but that's what you're going for. Right there, and then you hit your Bramer stand throw. From there, turn the hips through. It's just like your Bramer. So starting in the back, wrapping yourself, staying wrapped the whole throw. Hip, turning through, and smacking it. So it should look something like this. Alright, these are just a few drills I like to do for open stone. I like to find just a straight line. Any straight line you can find will work. The first thing I do is the half spin. So I'll start with both feet on the line, wrap, kick, make sure I'm landing as close to that line as I can to make sure I'm getting a real linear path, so I'm not going to be throwing clear over that way or whatever. And it gets you used to feeling your hips come through. And a lot of the time, just to get my knee and my hips to pull through, I'll just keep going without stopping. Not worrying so much about making sure I'm on the line, but rather worrying about making sure my foot is still turning, so I'm getting my hips through. Next thing I like to do is a South African kind of a thing. Start with the foot on the line, load up like you've got a shot, kick into your half spin. Make sure you're on that line, and feel yourself drive into those positions. Feel yourself stay wrapped every time. That's another big thing. On all these drills, always stay wrapped. Never follow through on the drill. Always stay wrapped. Third thing is just like a full spin. You start with the line right down the middle of you, loading up, turning through, trying to land on the line. So, it's kind of tough in these turf shoes, but that's the idea.